This is the sinister minister, Father James Mitchell, here to let the wrestling world know that I've gotten wind of something unholy. Specifically, the terrifying return to wrestling of the unholy icon, Darken GraVes. And unfortunate you all shall be.
Darken has your number. I know because I'm buff, but Darken has the stuff.
Because you think you stand a chance against Darken GraVes? Get real.
And well, it is I, the lyrical miracle, the sexual, intellectual, the cunning linguist, and the quintessential stud muffin, Joel. I told your mom I prefer her hairless, so that's why she shaves. And also she does it because she's in the cemetery gates with the unholy icon, Darken GraVes, Gertner. And for your podcast listening pleasure, after you've had yourself an eargasm, downloading and listening to my 69-minute eargasm, after you've experienced the extreme with me and Blue Meanie and Josh Chernoff on That Was Extreme, make sure that you download and listen to Enter the Cemetery Gates with the unholy icon, Darken GraVes. Listen to that podcast, or else you're not listening to podcasts. Well.
Hey, what's up? It's Angelina Love and Darken GraVes. I think it's about time that you and I get in the ring one-on-one and I can teach you a little lesson that I hear you need to learn. So, how about it?
All Darken's people said, "Hey, fucking man, I am the unholy icon, Darken GraVes, and you are entering the cemetery gates for the 11th season in a row, 11 years running strong. And tonight, I couldn't think of no better way to start this season off. An old nemesis of mine back in IW a long time ago. Man, I consider my friend. Not going to run through his accomplishments because we'd be here all night. So instead, I put together a little special video package. Let's take a look at just a dose of Nick White.
This shit. This is fine. Let's take
thing's sideways. If anybody's in here, tell me if this shit's sideways.
Nick Harrison, you stared into that camera and you asked for something you ain't ready for.
Now, if you're scared, that's fine. Say you're scared.
You asked for something you don't want. You're like a kid at Christmas that doesn't understand that the most expensive toy isn't always the coolest.
Las Vegas, Nevada, this weekend disorderly conduct. You are going to see something you have never seen before.
Nick Harrison, you wanted this. Motherfucker, you gon' get it.
Following announcement has been paid for by Division of Disorder.
See, Joey and I got a friendship. It's more like a brotherhood. We have done horrible, fucking, filthy things to each other.
I know what pisses you off, Chad. I know what really digs down to your fucking core, what gets you in the fucking balls, and what really chaps your ass about me. That I shoot a fucking promo from a bathroom that is better than anything you can fucking do anymore.
And violent, unspeakable things to each other in the ring.
So when it comes out, it screams 1,000 decibels loud.
But God forbid somebody pisses my brother off. It means they piss me off. Darken, if you learn one thing this week, learn this. I'm against Legion. We're against Legion.
We have tried to fuck with each other's mentalities before. Trying to beat the shit out of each other. That's a beautiful thing, man.
You gotta understand that for me, this is the main event of my career.
And anyone who stands in front of you cannot stop it.
This is the biggest match of my career.
What do you got for me? What do you got in your gut that's gonna make me want to give you an A+ match? What do you got like Darken GraVes gave me that brought 5 stars out? What do you got that TJ Blair elevated himself to the next level? What do you got that when the time comes, me and Tommy Dyer are gonna tear the fucking building down with? What do you got? Because right now, it ain't shit.
This thing's sideways. If anybody's in here, tell me if this shit's sideways.
Ladies and gentlemen, the ace, the Wayward Son, the violent gentleman, the one and only Nick White.
Jesus fuck, boy. That was... I was going to be hitting the bank when I came back. I was just grinning the whole fucking time. You had my first promo in there. My first IW promo was in that fucking clip.
Which one was that?
The me and TJ Vegas, if somebody fucks with my brother thing. That was my first IW promo. When I'm sure we'll get there. When he brought me in to fucking face Zach and Onions. I debuted attacking Zach. And me and TJ did filth, obviously, because it was the natural thing to do. That is fucking wild, dude. I haven't watched that promo in years. But like I saw it, I'm like, did he really fucking pull that fucking clip of all of it? That's wild.
So take it you liked it there.
Bro, if I ever make it in the Hall of Fame, just play that. I don't give a fuck.
I'm gonna send you a
anything
copy,
else
man.
is fine. Just, yeah, that was amazing, dude. I loved it. Thank you.
So how you been, man? It's been a long time. I'm sure people would probably thinking that hell's frozen over right now if they're watching.
That was, I mean, like I said in the comeback promo, man. Like you never say never.
Yeah.
You know, I told people, you know, everywhere I went, I'm like, if I ever get the call, I'll listen. And I got the call, and you know, I heard the right things, and you know, I kind of reached an understanding with people, and yeah, man. I mean, to be back at IW, to be on this show, I mean, it's all seems like I think I said to some people when they asked me like, why are you doing this? Because obviously I've gotten that question a couple times. I'm like, man, I just want to tie up loose ends. Like, IW was home for me for 3 years. You know, like, me and Matt Hayden started the We Are IW movement. You know, like, I love IW. Differences caused things to happen, but like, I knew at some point I was going to have to come back. So doing this is rad to me, and being on here and you know doing me the honor of having me on your show, like that's killer, dude. I'm fucking happy that everything's kind of coming the way it is.
Pleasure's all mine, dude. And you know, I kind of predicted this, and we'll get more into the phone call a little bit later on. But I was kind of Nostradamus on this. I kind of called this a long time ago.
I think anybody that could rub two brain cells together knew at some point I would come back if the right match was offered. And there were a couple names that could have been out there, and I got the one. So I got the big one. So
hell yeah. Let's jump right into it, man. Nick White inside the 20 by 20. Now, most people know that you've been in the indies before. You've been a wrestler. You've been, correct me if I'm wrong, you've been a referee and a manager. Correct?
Yeah. You name it in the wrestling business, I've done it, man. Wrestling,
how'd you get started?
managing, dude. So it actually started. I was there was a show that ran in this little town called Madison, Tennessee, which is right outside Nashville, and they used to have a show that came on cable access every Saturday night at midnight. And I watched it every week, and they had a bunch of like young guys, and they would bring in random guys from TNA, like Chase Stevens, somebody you're very familiar with, Sin Bodie, wrestled there. You know, a bunch of guys would, if they were in town and they were staying, that would be one of the indie shows they would work. So I would watch every week, and they would put up an email during the show like, oh, if you want to train to be a wrestler or whatever, hit us up here. And I've never been the most coordinated guy in the world. Like, I've had matches, but they're never that good. But I wanted to get in the wrestling business. So I sent an email, and I was like, hey, people tell me I have a really good voice. I'm not coordinated whatsoever, so I don't really want to be a wrestler, but I'd love to be a backstage interviewer, ring announcer, manager, whatever you need. And sorry, I'm losing my fucking headset.
Did you do announcing as well?
What's up?
Did you do announcing as well?
Yeah. Oh man, you name it. Like, I started out doing backstage interviews, did some ring announcing, did play-by-play, color, just kind of wherever they needed me, wherever they needed somebody to hold a microphone and talk, I did it. And then kind of like the turn for me was I started getting weird heel heat. Like, just being in the ring and doing interviews, people would boo me because they had an established guy that did ring announcing and play-by-play. And I guess they thought I was trying to take his spot, and he was pretty popular, so they just didn't like me. The fans could not stand me. I'd come out, do interviews, and I'd get booed. Like, they'd have to start sending me out the heel curtain because, you know, it was just that kind of reaction. So eventually, one of the guys in the back named Noré Havoc, he was an old USWA guy in Memphis. He was a junior heavyweight champion a couple times. He took an interest in me, and he was like, dude, they just don't fucking like you. We got to do something with this. So I actually have told the story in promos before, and it was a completely legit story. He said, next week, I want you to start being my manager. Bring 2 water bottles and a towel. And I was like, okay. And I'm young. I'm fucking green. I'd probably taken like 3 bumps out of just shits and gigs before a show, and I'm like, okay.
This is where you was wearing the white suit?
No, that was much later. That was, I mean, this is 2005.
My bad.
Probably. No. Yeah, that was years later. That was about 5-6 years ago. But he brings me out to the ring, and he says, stand there at ringside. I'm going to call you in. Just go with whatever I say. I'm like, okay. So he brings me to the ring, and he announces, you guys can't stand this guy, and he's out here pouring out his heart, and he's just trying to live the dream. So officially, Nick White is no longer the interviewer. Nick White is now the water boy for the Hero Killers, which was like the big heel stable. And I'm like, I'm a water boy. Like that's my first wrestling gimmick, water boy Nick. Okay. And then somehow the fans started liking me because I'd go out and get my ass kicked every week. I was they would just if all the heels were getting beaten down, they'd send me in so they could run out. And I got beat up by Wolfie D, got beat up by Sin Bodhi, got beat up by every babyface on the roster. Till finally the fans were like, this kid just keeps coming back. So they turned me babyface, and I quit 2 weeks later because I was terrible. And over time, I got more into managing. I had some friends of mine that were like, look, we're going to go to these other little outlaw shows. Come with us. We're going to let you get on these. And I got I had been training by that point, and I got retrained because my first trainer was a great in-ring talent, but didn't know how to do backstage at all. He was controversial. He said whatever the fuck he thought. We got fired everywhere we fucking went. Until finally I got retrained. No, a guy named Slacker J. You will probably remember this because you remember fucking dark shit like this. If you remember Belladonna from the New Church?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I lived with her for 2 years. That was my original trainer's.
Oh, shit.
My original trainer's fiance/wife. They told everybody they were married, but it was never legal. And when I trained, I lived with them. It was very dojo style. I didn't pay for training. I paid by mowing the yard, cleaning the house, driving everywhere. I never paid for a day of training, but I paid with sweat equity. Like they gave me they were like, you're going to go live in the fucking attic. There's no air conditioning. There's no heat. So good luck.
Earned your keep.
Yeah, exactly. So I kind of learned, I paid my dues that way. And then I got retrained by a guy named Mike Promo, who was like, everything you learned about backstage, forget all of that shit. We're going to teach you how to be a man and stand up for yourself without being a dick about it. Which is something that I kind of carried into E-Feds most of the time until I, realized that sometimes you got to be a dick. But, and then I I did managing for the most part for the next 10 years. I managed Brett Eisen and JC Crow. Brett Eisen is, big name on the indies now, and JC Crow is basically my brother. As Filth, which is a name I'm sure everybody's familiar with. Like the Filth t-shirts I used to wear were legitimately sold at shows.
Forever I'll live to hate.
TJ Vegas for letting me do that. I managed my other best friend, Mike Jablonski. We fucking did a bunch of crazy shit together. I got to be in the ring with Tatanka and the Boogeyman, fucking Ricky Morton multiple times.
Cool.
I did a lot of shit over 15 years. It was wild. I'm hoping to get back at some point. I'm actually hoping to book a show at some point. That's my real passion. So
I was able to find some of your managing clips. I still haven't found a clip of an in-ring clip. I think they're hidden away.
There is 2 matches on YouTube, and if you promise to never share them, because I am terrible, I will send them to you. One of them, I'll tell you the story on one of them. One of them was supposed to be a tribute to one of my friends that had died. And the show had run so long, and we had like 10 minutes of match planned, that you'll see it. This big giant motherfucker, 3 minutes into the match, comes in, choke slams me, and tells the other guy to pin me, and we're like, that's the match. Which was a blessing in disguise, because it was horrible. It was me versus that announcer that I was talking about earlier. It was terrible. But anyway, yeah, so I'll send them to you. They're pretty funny, if nothing else, watching me try to be a real wrestler when was not in the cards for me.
I've seen the clips of you that I brought up the white suit matches where you would be helped to the back and your hair would be all like halfway ponytail.
Oh yeah. I mean, when me and JC, before we formed Filth, we were doing like Sin with a Grin, backwoods serial killer kind of deal. And it was funny because I had been doing like more of like a hipster, like I was the social media savior was the gimmick. Like I was the Sultan of Snapchat, the face of Facebook, the Titan of Twitter. Like I had the whole spiel. And then we kind of twisted it. And JC started shooting all these promos. He has like 7 acres of land out in the country, and he has like a shed, like he has his tool shed back in the back, and it's really big. And we called it the murder shed. And he would always cut all these promos where like he was covered in blood when he came out. We would have we like piped in screaming, all this other shit. And I would be completely confused until one day he finally like brainwashed me into coming with him and being like a murderer too. So if you ever see like there's a match online where he faces a guy named Grease Lightning, and it's like a Tullahoma street fight where they literally fought into the streets of Tullahoma at one point, which is a little shitty town in Tennessee. And you see it, and I come out with the fucking we had a barbed wire stick, and we had this jar of blood that we started carrying after that match, because at one point I take a bottle of water, and Grease Lightning is just pouring blood. And I take a bottle of water, and I'm standing right in front of Grease Lightning's 12-year-old daughter, filling up the water bottle with her father's blood. And that was the moment where everybody was like, oh my God, these motherfuckers are legitimately crazy. And it just went like that for like 3 years. Like, we won heavyweight titles a bunch of places because we were the only ones with a gimmick. Everybody down here wants to do Southern babyface shit, or, you know, they're a heel just because they're an asshole. We were like, no, we're heels because we're fucking insane. Like,
right.
We are here to bleed everyone fucking dry given the opportunity. And, you know, and a lot of that shit transferred into EFED too, because it showed me how to shoot promos a different way and how to be a little bit darker when it needed to happen. So it was kind of rad for like all my interests at the time, you know. So
last question on
my leg is fucking shaking for some reason. All right.
Last question on your in-ring career. Did you ever blade?
Yes, actually.
Got a funny story about one?
I have a great story about blading, actually. So my buddy Mike, who is a 6'3", 320-pound, fully tattooed, legitimate prison guard in real life, but he was doing this gimmick where he talked to a fork. Like, he was crazy, and the voices in his head manifested themselves in a fork. And he's in a first blood match against this guy named Toby Farley. And you know the old heel gimmick, like, they get color, but they take the blood off their own face and wipe it on the baby face, and then they hide, right?
Right.
I was like, well, we should do a different version of that spot where I get the color, you wipe it off my face, and wipe it on Toby's. You know, because the whole thing was we wanted Mike to look strong, and if he had gotten color, you know, it kind of killed a little of the heat.
Made y'all look insane, more insane, I'm sure.
Right. And I mean, I wasn't even doing the crazy stuff yet. I was still doing the social media stuff at that point. So I get in the ring. Oh, wait, hold on. Let me rewind just a second. I had taken 13 fucking aspirin that day and was half drunk on Jaeger. My blood should have been thin as a motherfucker. And I hook Toby. Mike gets the fork, comes running at Toby. Toby moves. I take the fucking fork. And I roll over, and of course I'm in all white, so the blood will look really good. And I learned that from Jim Cornette. And I get down, and I got my fucking blade. I pull it out, and I go for it. Nothing. Not a fucking drop. And you gotta understand, for this spot to work, I've got to be pouring blood.
Right.
And I'm like, shit. Stab, stab, stab. I must have got myself 4 good times. I mean, deep. Nothing. So Mike comes over, and as I mentioned earlier, Mike is a legitimate fucking monster. And he rolls me over to get the blood off my forehead, and he's like, good God, you're not bleeding. I see, and he's telling me this as he's on top of me. Like, I see that you cut yourself, but you're not bleeding. So Mike, all right, inside baseball, everybody, sorry. Mike had cut himself a gig just in case a situation like this happened, or I got too scared to fucking cut myself. Mine, if you've ever seen the movie The Wrestler, is a little one. You know, like Mickey Rourke had in his tape.
Right.
Mike has a fucking dagger. Like, he's legitimately taken a fucking, you know, straight, like a razor blade. And
he's say he knew jacked you?
Yeah. Oh, he looks at me, and it was right after, maybe a couple years after Shawn and Flair, and he looks at me and goes, I'm sorry. I love you. And he just takes it and fucking hammers me. There's still a little scar. It's been 10, 11 years. Still a little scar up here from where he got me. I still am not bleeding that much.
Wow.
And I'm like, I don't know what the fuck is going on. And Mike's like, I got enough. It's fine. Wipes it off, hits Toby with it. Now, I had a retail job at that point for my shoot job. And I had to go to work at 9 o'clock the next morning.
Oh,
and I've got 5 cuts on my forehead. He's hit me with the fork and his hands are sweaty. So I'm going to use my vape bottle. You know, if you're doing the gimmick, you hold it, but you don't have the tangs out.
Right.
His hands are sweaty. So the fork is now going like this. And he's just hammering me with the fucking fork. I looked like a fucking murder victim the next morning. And went to work, and they were like, you can't be here looking like that. So go home until you're healed.
Good thing you took aspirin, though. That would have been one hell of a headache.
Yeah, thank God, right? Because he pounded my fucking forehead like a railroad spike, man.
That's an awesome story, brother.
It was fun. It was. I look back on it with a lot more pleasure than I felt back then, for sure.
Right.
Not going to be one to tell my kids about that.
So how does one go from independent wrestling to this crazy, chaotic, supposed game that we call pro wrestling?
It's a game to the right people. It's not to other people. But anyway, that's kind of a two-parter. So I met TJ Vegas through Facebook because he needed somebody to cover Southern indie wrestling for the indie movement. And I was like, I can do that. I follow Southern indie wrestling. I'm part of Southern indie wrestling. So we kind of became friends through that. And I was an admin for the indie movement for about 3 or 4 months. And me and him
That's who sponsors you guys, right?
Yeah, the indie movement, which now sponsors the Uncut podcast, you know, all these years later. Thank God, you know. Cool guys. And TJ makes all our fucking video clips too. Like all the intros you see for the wrestlers, TJ makes all of those. Like legitimately still one of my best friends in the world. But he was like, hey, I've seen a couple of your promos that you do for wrestling, and I think you'd fit in really well in this eFed thing that I do. Now, years and years prior, I had done written eFeds and was terrible at it because I don't think like that. Like I don't think on a written level. I think on a verbal level.
Right.
So I was like, oh man, I don't want to write like 1,000 words and describe the hotel room that I'm cutting the promo from and shit, you know. And he was like, no, we do video now. And I'm like, video? Oh, okay, let me see. So he adds me to SPW, which is one of like the oldest.
Damien Lee Guy.
I came in right after the Damien Lee Guy era.
Okay.
Like Luke Alexander was still there, Grant Miller. This was before Doomsayer. Doomsayer came in at the very end of SPW, really. But yeah, it was like Grant, Luke, Casey Campbell, Simon Spores, Shara, which was Luke Alexander's girlfriend. Few other people were there. And it was like maybe 15, 20 people. It wasn't big like a lot of eFeds are now. And I was like, this would be something fun. And so I tried it. And I was like, I tried to do a hipster gimmick and it was terrible. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go in there and be a fucking heel and see what happens. So I did it and I liked it. And it was fun. And it was kind of, it's something I've talked to James Drake about in years, you know, since. It helped my pro wrestling promos be better because I knew how to tell a story a little bit better. Because, you know, in eFeds, the promos are the story. You know what I mean? The results are almost secondary to what you say in your promos.
Right.
You know, so I knew how to tell a story. So then the promos that I would cut in the real world were better because everything was already built up. When we had the match, people were already watching. So, you know, they already knew like, oh, this serial killer motherfucker's coming to beat the shit out of this guy. Okay, cool. I already know what's going on. So I did SPW for about a year. And that was really the only place I was.
Damien only said that was kind of like the at that time the ECW of eFeds.
It kind of was, yeah. Well, it had started years before. Like, I mean, I even kind of came in. Like, I mean, I was there for 2 years total, 2.5, And even I was on the tail end because, you know, SPW started 15 years ago. Like, SPW started with a message board and people would upload YouTube videos to it.
Wow.
You know, and it was originally just British. Like, Grant pretty much was on like the ground floor of it. Like, Grant Miller, and he started it with, you know, some guys that had done some indie stuff too. And then it just kind of grew and grew and grew. And then it was mostly Northeast guys, and then like my Southern ass and my wife, and, you know, Grant popped in here and there, but Grant was kind of a big deal everywhere else at that point. So then Vegas is in IW, and he's in Madhouse with Zachy and Onions, and they split him off, and they're like, well, you need a tag team partner. And he's like, well, I got this guy at SPW, and he's pretty fucking good, and we've been doing Filth anyway, so let's just do Filth with me and him. And that was me, obviously. And I came to IW July of
2017.
2017? Okay, cool. I love that you know my career better than I do at this point. July of 2017. July of 2017. And, you know, that then kind of just became home at that point, because they had the really long written results, and they had all the main people. And then I was so confused because I was like, I didn't realize it was as big as it was, like eFed as a thing. And then I fed Horde for a while, and then I went IW exclusive, and, you know, everything went crazy.
Your time in IW, let's say I came in around late 2018, and I always tell this story that early 2019 that I had 3 matches in a row, week to week to week. One was against my mentor, Ethan Carnage. One was against Thomas Austin. The other one was against you. Lost all 3 of them. But they're 3 of my favorite matches of all time.
Oh, dude, I mean, the wins and losses don't fucking matter at the end of the day. Like, you know, I care if I lose and it doesn't make sense. I don't care if I lose and you give me a good reason. Right. The losses are sometimes more fun because you're like, you know, not in judged feds. I hate fucking judged feds.
Me too.
But
there's no such thing.
No,
as a true judge fed.
I mean, look, we turned the biggest judge fed in the world into a fucking kayfabe fed. You know what I'm saying? Like,
PWA?
No, fucking XWE used to be judged, and then you know, we took a couple. You know, we came in. You know, me and a couple other people came in and helped fucking book it, and we're like, look, man, I know y'all are judging shit, but we could tell way better stories if we're just telling stories. And 90% of the time, the person that would have won judged wins anyway, and you only have to explain it to a select few. So, you know, kayfabe feds are just way better than judged feds.
I said the only true way that you could really, if you want to get a fair, and this may not even work, but if you want to get a fair judge fed, go find 3 people off the street that have never watched wrestling in their life, don't know anything about it, and possibly have to be blind so they don't see what you look like, and just ask them who talked the best shit.
Yeah. So what I did in Warzone Wrestling when I was booking for Chad in Warzone was my title matches. I had a title match jury that were 3 people that were not in eFeds, that were all in the wrestling business. And I'd go, okay, if this was a promo to build to a real match, like they understood the concept. 2 of them were like, this is the fucking stupidest thing, but I'll do it because you're my boy. But if this was a promo building to a real match, who did a better job? And that was how all my world title matches got judged, was those 3 guys. You know, they would go watch it. They would tell me their opinions. They would give me some feedback to give to the guys. And that was, I think, the most fair booking ever. Or at least the most fair booking possible, you know, given the circumstances. And a lot of times I pissed people off because they were like, but mine was clearly better. And I'm like, yeah, yours was better in an eFed sense, but I'm booking this like a wrestling show. Right. Like that's how I book still to this day. Like helping book XWE. I book everything like it's a real fucking wrestling show. I don't even think of it as an e-fed. I'm like, how would I tell this story if it was legitimately happening in a ring? And that's when I judged. That's how I judged. People didn't like my judging because I was like, if I was watching this and you were trying to sell me on a match, you didn't do that. You had really cool graphics, or you had, I liked your background music, but I don't believe you're going to go beat that man's ass. I don't believe you're motivated to beat that man's ass because you went out and you cut a boring promo, but yours looked better, but I don't give a fuck how it looks. I don't buy tickets for, that was a really pretty graphic. I buy tickets because I want to see somebody whoop a motherfucker's ass, and I want to believe that's your plan. So, I don't miss that era of eFed at all.
Right.
I don't miss getting a 9.25 and losing to somebody that got a 9.5. Like,
oh God. Yeah.
Like point feds, judged feds were bad. Point feds were way worse.
Hammer's Championship Wrestling rings a bell. Nightmare from hell.
The worst example I'll ever give, and again, a guy that's one of my best friends, but I was talking to him about it earlier tonight. Me and Huck had a match in Championship Promo Wrestling, which was Christian Seibel's fed.
Right, CPW.
And Dustin Woodruff was one of the judges. Dustin Woodruff did not fucking like me at the time. I don't think he likes me to this day. I don't really give a fuck, though.
He hates me, so.
Well, he hates a lot of people.
Yeah.
But he didn't like me. And my promo went 6.5 minutes. And I told a fucking crazy story because it was like a match that shouldn't have happened. It was happening in like a fucking outlaw fed. And here's the guy who runs XWE and one of the faces of IW at the time having a match in some fucking outlaw fed. And I told this great fucking 6-minute story. And Woodruff was like, I saw how long your promo was, and I just didn't want to watch it, so I gave you a 1. And I'm like, at that point, that was actually the downfall of me even competing in judged feds anymore. The only one I did was when Dylan Mays brought back PWA. And that was only because he was working, he wanted to work with Warzone, and I was booking Warzone. So I'm like, well, I can't be booking Warzone and work with you and not kind of compete for you and try to give you some names.
6 minutes, you're just now getting it. You're just getting warmed
up. Dude, 6 minutes. That's fucking foreplay. Dude, I can't do 12-minute promos anymore. I can't, man. You might get a 7-minute promo out of me here and there, but that's with intros and graphics and shit. Like, if I go over 5.5, I feel like I've talked way too much. That's also because I don't like cutting as many promos, so I try to get like one really good like punch promo and be like, "Cool, I'm done now. I can not worry about this the rest of the week."
So you've had an outstanding career, Hall of Fame career. I hate to put you on the spot, but I'm gonna do it twice in a row, back to back.
All right.
Your top 5 greatest E-Fed moments, whether they be opponents or whether it be matches or just moments in general.
Okay, the first one I'm going to give you is actually going to be on both lists, and that was being in the WrestleCade 2 main event to crown the first IW World Heavyweight Champion.
Right, I was there. I remember.
Yeah, with me, and it was me, Rocky, Nick,
the Elimination
Chad,
Chamber,
Onions, Chad, Onions, and Ethan in the Elimination Chamber. And I cut 8 promos that week, and they were all fucking good. And I don't normally think that my promos, like, I know they're good, but I never think like, oh man, you fucking home run to that shit. I felt like that week all 8 promos were fucking home runs, and I came in second to Rocky.
Yeah, you were the last 2.
Yeah, we were the last 2, and that was really cool. That David was like, you showed out, and you're not going to win, but I'm going to let you. Like, I eliminated Chad. I'd never beaten Chad at that point, like judged or kayfabe. So he's like, yeah, it's going to come down to you, Rocky, and Chad, and I'm going to let you beat Chad. and then you'll lose to Rocky. And I was like, all right, whatever.
It's a good feeling to beat Chad, isn't it?
It's always a good feeling to beat Chad. Chad is one of the fucking goats, man. Like,
yeah, he is.
Chad gets a lot of heat, and a lot of people,
it's misunderstood,
including people that I'm like really good friends with, don't get Chad. They're like, oh, he's just a troll and he's loud and this, that, and the other. But I'm like, yeah, but if you really listen to Chad, Chad makes you either want to see him beat the shit out of somebody or want to see him get the shit beat out of him. And that's our fucking goal at the end of the day,
I tell people, go watch his YouTube channel and if you want to see what he's like.
Yeah, dude, he's such a funny, fucking cool dude in real life. Like, to see what an asshole he can be in a promo is wild. I'm going to get heat for this one, but I got to say it. Fucking winning the XW World title off of Ethan Carnage last year was huge for me. Just because I was really down on myself at that point. And that was the original time. I had tried to retire once before.
You've retired a few times.
I've retired 3 times. I have retired, including the one that's coming up this year. But this one's the real one. This is the real I'm done.
Sure it is.
I mean, I'm done. As I've said to everybody that books me, I'm done full time. I'm done promoing every fucking week. But I was legitimately like, I'm quitting. I got nothing left for this. And me and Ethan told like a 7-week fucking story from when I won the Rumble till I won the belt. We did this whole thing where he broke my leg, and I did like 3 weeks of promos on crutches. And then we had the match, and we cut like 4 promos each that week, and everything just played perfectly. Ethan is such an insane storyteller. Like, legitimately one of my favorite opponents of all time. So,
one half of the IW World Tag Team Champions, along with myself.
I saw that, man. That's dude. That guy deserves. I mean, like, any issues we've had aside, like, that guy deserves every accreditation he gets as a competitor. So that was really cool for me. The original retirement match with me and Tommy and Joey Taylor that main evented 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge in IW. That one was super cool. Because then I cut the 12-minute retirement promo, and I was supposed to actually retire. David was like, well, we're going to let you do the retirement match, but then we'll have you make one last appearance and come really close to winning the Rumble. Just to give everybody like, yeah. But then after I cut the retirement promo, David was like, I can't let you compete anymore after that. That's like a perfect retirement promo. Like, you fucking... You cried legitimately, and you thanked everybody. You had this beautiful moment. I'm like, I can't let you compete. So that was really cool. Honestly, and I'm not just saying this because it's your show. Me and you, the week we fucking had our match, was so much fun. Just because I legitimately said this to somebody, and I can say this now, and I know you won't take offense to it. I'm like, either this kid's gonna have the match of his fucking life, or I'm gonna eat him alive. It's gonna be one or the other. And I know you've done a lot of cool shit both before and since, but I feel like, at least what I've seen of you, and maybe it's just my fucking ego talking, I feel like that was maybe the best work I've ever seen you do, just because you were so fucking emotionally invested in it.
You brought something out of me that no one had brought out of me yet. I was about a year and a half into my career, maybe 2 years.
Yeah.
I had done the tag team thing with Titan the whole time.
Yeah.
And just getting into singles, and
and that's such a different dynamic too.
Yeah.
Because especially as a guy who, one of my big things is prestige worldwide, right? Like, everybody knows me and Tommy as like a team, or me and Filth, or me and whoever. Like, I have done a lot of tag stuff. But when you're doing a tag, it's almost like a tag match in real life, right? Like, if you're having a weeknight, but your partner's killing it, okay, everything is going to be cool. So you get kind of used to that, like, oh, I cut kind of a shitty promo, but I'll hit up my boy and he'll knock something out of the park, so it'll be all right. When you're doing a singles, like, you only have yourself to worry about. Like, right. If you fuck up, you're the only one that looks stupid, So,
I got a funny story about the match promo between me and you. I don't know if you remember this, where I was outside and I had the light, this little light of mine.
Yeah.
And it was an extra thick light bulb. So the insides of it were extra thick, and I smashed it on the on a shed I had outside.
Yeah.
and I'm sitting here trying. My thing was I would lick up the blood.
Yeah.
But I found myself licking it up like 3 different times. Like my hand was like pouring profusely all the way down my arm.
Dude, yeah, I mean that's the risk we take. Like, I mean, I bladed for Thomas Austin, so I mean, I know. Like sometimes you're like, I'm just, you do something, you're like, this could be cool, and then you don't realize, like, God, the after effects of what I'm gonna do. Like I did thumbtacks versus onions one time, and like I had them like I was promoing in the bathroom, and I had them sitting on the fucking sink, and like into the promo, I just fucking smacked the sink and came up, and I had the tacks in my hand, and I looked down, and I'm like, oh, that fucking sucks. God damn it. Like as soon as I cut the camera off, and then like one had fallen out, and I ate it. Like I didn't swallow it, but like I had it like stuffed in my cheek, and everybody, I got so many fucking DMs after that. They're like, "Did you eat a fucking thumbtack in the middle of a promo? Like that's gonna hurt later, you know that, right?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I totally."
Mad dog shit.
I ran with it. I'm like, dude, I ran with it. I'm like, yeah, I fucking ate a thumbtack. I don't give a fuck. I'm hardcore, you know. Like,
it's better than Lee's job with onions, putting the thumbtacks on the mattress and jumping on top of off the ladder. Like Macho Man, and then the screen glitches and cuts out, and then you see his thumbtacks in his back.
No, fuck all that, bro. I won't do thumbtacks, so I'm getting paid. I'm never gonna fucking do them for free again. Fuck that shit.
I
guess like the last moment was probably the last SPW match, because it was like all the guys who had, when I started, all the guys I had competed against. Like it was me, Simon Spores, TJ, Casey Campbell, Luke Alexander, and I want to say Grant was the 6th one. I know it was 6 people. And like it just, everybody, we didn't even really cut real promos. We just all kind of like did like a memories of being young and stupid, because everybody by that point pretty much had gone on to other feds. Like Luke's the only one who never really branched out much. Because when SPW shut down, he was like, "Oh, okay, cool. I don't give a fuck about E-Feds. I just like playing with my friends." So it was cool for all these people who were now names in like IW or XWE or wherever they ended up, to be like coming back together to do this one match that only like 30 people fucking saw. Like there was nobody in that group. We did it for our own shits and gigs, but we all just kind of were like,
"Those are fun though.
This is what started us." You know what I mean? Like this is what launched all of our careers, you know, for what it's worth. And to come back and do that one last match, like I always kind of joke, like that was probably the first moment I thought about quitting, because I was like, oh, it'll never get better than this. But it has multiple times.
So we go on from top 5 greatest to top 5 not so greatest.
WrestleCade 2. Just because I did kind of feel like I should have won. I did kind of feel like Nick Harrison should have won, because Nick Harrison tore it up that week too. It's nothing personal against Rocky, you know, but I did kind of feel like our performances kind of deserve to be recognized, and never getting the IW title, and not politically, just the fact that I was so close so many times, and I know I'll admit this on fucking camera, I know a lot of it was decisions I made that I wouldn't change, the things I did back then, because they helped me grow as a competitor, but just that I was so close so many times and never got it. I've said this one to David and the person I'm about to bring up, so I hope I don't get sheet for this. I know this isn't an IW show, but I know he's going to watch this to see the shit I say. WrestleCade 5 last year was a huge low point for me, because me and Tyler Throne should have been a really great match, and it turned into a bunch of shooty bullshit, which is not how I like to play.
Right.
I think there's a niche for that. I think there's a time for that. And I think the biggest show of the year semi-main event
Not
between
the
two guys who had never had a one-on-one match, who had built that story for a year, wasn't the time.
Understand.
A lot of my bad memories are WrestleCade related. You're going to learn that here in a second, because I'm also about to say WrestleCade 4. Because, again, me and Killian Gavin...
Bad memory for me, too.
Yeah, me and Killian Gavin had told a year-long story that had crossed 4 different feds.
It's a great story.
It was a fucking perfectly told story.
All the way to Beijing.
Yeah, dude. And some of the stuff that happened during that story, I didn't really like. Some of the stuff Dan Ness pulled in his write-ups, I wasn't a fan of. Yes, I'm talking about you. Some of the Dan Ness stuff I didn't like, but me and Killian, on our part, killed it. And then when he had come down here to visit, we had like 4 promos in the can to use that week, and we only ended up using like 2 of them because we did it on the show before. We did it on the Black Friday show before WrestleCade.
I remember that show.
We told which, I mean, it was a great match. You know, we did the fucking big blow off with the steel cage and me threatening to chop his head off, and you know, the whole thing.
I was in that video package.
Yeah, the big blue cage, you know, with me and Killian, and you know, I hit him with the fucking red mist at one point. Like in real life, I fucking really red misted him in a hotel room, and we had to clean.
Yeah, he was on the floor.
Yeah, dude. I mean, like, we spent 30 minutes cleaning the wall of that hotel room after that promo.
Your wife nearly buried him with her promo.
Oh, dude, my wife.
That was a great promo.
Fuck it. I'm gonna say this. My wife got so mistreated. That was the only part of that angle that made me almost stop doing it when she had her match with Killian, because they did the shitty write-up on her and they never used her again. And I'm like, we just made a monster out of this woman. Like, she made the biggest heel you have, like the hottest up-and-coming heel you have, cower in fear, sell for an opponent, which was the big critique on him, was that he would never sell for anybody. He sold for her. He damn near, I mean, he fake pissed his pants on camera for her. And nothing ever came of it. Like, that was like the one time they used her, because Dan Ness fucked it all up for everybody. You know, she's the goddamn Michael Myers of women's E-Fed. She's the baddest bitch, and I'm going to say this not just because she's my wife, but because I truly believe it. She's the baddest female competitor, and one of the baddest overall fucking competitors ever.
I'll agree to that, dude.
Shit, like when she cares, and you can tell the ones where she cares versus the ones she doesn't. When she cares, she's the absolute shit. And she's standing behind me, and I know she is because I can see her. But she's the fucking shit, man. She's the best. You know.
Hey, Alicia.
Darken says hi. She can't hear you because I have earbuds in. But
like we were saying earlier, you know, no one really remembers the outcomes. They remember the promos and stuff. And I remember her promo. That promo was killer.
The first promo she cut, where she was doing the emotional thing.
Yeah,
and she was like, I don't want to fight you, but I have to fight you, so Nick won't fight you because I don't want to going through this. And then she gets the fucking knife at the end of the promo.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite fucking moments in a promo ever. She gets the knife, and you see her face just go dead. And then the fucking crazy grin comes out of her. I told her, legitimately, I'm filming the promo. You know what I mean? Like, I'm filming it, but standing off to the side so I can hand her the knife. When her eyes went dead, I fucking got cold chills. And I'm like, I know you're in character. I'm standing 3 feet from you, and I got chills. Like, hold on, is she really going to stab me? Like, wait, what the fuck?
It was goosebumps inducing.
Definitely. And then, I don't know, just, I don't know if this is a moment, but it's definitely one of my least favorite things in E-Feds is just, I don't want to say the drama, because that's going to naturally happen when you have this many people, you know, different personalities fucking interacting. But just the people that can't recognize this for what it is. Like we were talking earlier, like, it's a game, right? It's fucking wrestling D&D. You know, that's what my boss calls it. He makes fun of me, but he likes it. He watches it, some of it. And he's like, it's like wrestling fucking D&D. You're just out there fucking playing characters and having fun. And it's like, it's a game. And you have these people that take it so seriously. And they get mad over wins and losses. And they get mad over, oh, I don't want to face this guy. Or mad over what somebody says in a fucking promo. Like, if you get mad at what somebody says in a promo, go cut something better. Go cut something and get your fucking heat back. Like, if you feel like he's burying you, go show the world that you're fucking better than him. Or her, whatever. Like, play it like a fucking game. Have fun. If you don't like somebody, don't fucking like them. But all this personal attacks and, like, I hate shoot promos unless you've cleared it. You know what I mean? Like, me and Chad Bartlett said a lot of shit to each other, but we would always be like, hey, are you cool if I say this? What's the fucking line? Like, you know, like, me and Tommy Dyer call each other by our shoot names for 2 months. Like Nick Maglio promoted on Matt Applin and vice versa. Like, we talked about each other's kids because our daughters have the same name. Like, we went deep, but that's because we're best friends and we fucking did that shit because we knew that was the only way to get people to believe it. You know, to get people to really believe, like, these guys are coming for fucking blood.
We got rid of a dude that was hell bent on being on personal attacks.
You know, like, I said it in a comment last week. I got plenty of shit to make fun of, right? Like, I got weird fucking hands, right? I got fucking arthritis from breaking knuckles. And you know, I got a nasally voice because my fucking nose has been broken so many times. And I'm kind of monotone. And I shoot all my promos from with the front cam in front of a towel bar.
Propane accessories.
You know, I sell propane accessories. Like, me and Matthew Mullins not ever tagging as Hank and Bobby Hill is a huge fail in the E-Feds half.
Yeah.
But, like, you know, that's fine. Make fun of that shit. I know it's fucking funny. Like, if I saw somebody walking around with hands like this, I'd have fucking 3 jokes planned. I don't care. Like, I know what brought this shit on. I know I did it doing badass fucking stuff, so have fun making fun of me for it. But, like, you know, talking about somebody's wife that isn't in the fucking game. Like, you could talk about Alicia White all day in a promo. Don't talk about fucking Alicia Maglio. Like, that, there's no point in talking about my fucking personal life. Don't bring up somebody's kids. Don't fucking go pull pictures off somebody's fucking Facebook and edit them. And I hate that shit, man.
I think we're talking about the same guy here.
We're definitely talking about the same guy.
Had a lot of promise coming in, but
he's fucking full of baloney, that piece of shit. You know, you don't have to do all that. And especially that guy, because he can cut a good ass fucking promo.
Yeah, when he wants to. Yeah.
I don't understand these people. Like, me and Tyler have squashed our shit now, which is so strange to say. Like, we've squashed all our shit now, and, like, we're cool. But there was no need for all the shit that happened at WrestleCade last year. There was no need in me bringing up his wife in promos. She's not part of this. Like, I'm not proud of a lot of the shit that happened back then. You know, like, I wish I could look back on some of these matches where I acted a fucking asshole and say...
Same with me.
You know, like, I wish I could go back and say, God, we had a fucking just knockdown, drag out, cut 6 promos that were all great. But I look back and I'm like, man, like, that match was such a waste. Some of the stuff, like, just some of the stuff that happens in this game, it kills me. And then, you know, the mass exodus kind of pissed me off too, but I understood it. Nothing else.
Look, Dave, we're going to take a 30-second commercial break. For everybody that's been wondering about Back to the Boneyard, we will be returning with the second part of the Taylor Chadwick interview, Doomsayer. Here's a little preview, Back to the Boneyard.